And this was a extremely contentious debate that lasted 5 hours and actually delayed everything else they're supposed to be talking about at this summit. The key question was what language they were going to use in calling for some kind of way for humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. Essentially, they were arguing over the letter S. So more Palestinian sympathetic countries like Ireland and Spain were asking for the EU to call for a humanitarian ceasefire. That word was an absolute no-go for countries including Germany and Austria, who said that it would tie Israel's hands and allow Hamas to regroup during that ceasefire. So earlier this week they came up with a compromise of instead asking for a humanitarian pause. This was still too much for Austria and Germany because they said a pause sounded too long. It sounded like, again, like just a replacement word for ceasefire. So they added the letter S during the course of the summit, pauses. So these could be short pauses that last just a couple hours each, enough to let aid come in very quickly and then leave, but not enough time to allow Hamas to regroup, is the idea. Spain, in particular, was not happy about this weakened language, and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was insisting on some other language there. So they did get corridors into the text, and they conceded the central point from Spain, without which I'm not sure he would have signed these conclusions, which was calling for an international peace conference to try to resolve the situation. Now, they didn't discuss any details about that peace conference, I'm told, but it's there in writing. Now, is Israel going to listen to this advice from the European Union? Probably not, and the officials, EU officials, are aware of that, the ones I talked to, but they said it was really important for the EU to get this on paper yesterday because it could influence the United States. The United States could follow and also call for, using the same language, humanitarian pauses, and if the United States calls for it, it can probably happen. Israel will listen to the United States even if they won't listen to the European Union, which has very limited diplomatic clout in the region at the moment. So we'll see what happens next. They need to flesh this out. They need to really define what they're calling for here in terms of humanitarian pauses. Certainly what this has done, though, is show the very, very deep divisions between EU countries on this subject.